Hello there, and welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. That's Luis Scott Vargas. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. We're getting down the stretch here on day 2 as we work our way up to the top 8. This is where things start to get very intense for the players and for us, and of course for you at home as well. In our feature match area, the race for Constructed Master is very much alive right now. Sebastian Pozzo holding on to a lead right now. He's playing Ramanop Red, which seems to be performing very, very well at the tournament thus far. He's on 10-4. He's playing up against Dimitriy Butakov, and Dimitry's on blue-red control. We also have Li Shitian in the feature match area playing against Ari Lax. Those are the two players, Li Shitian and Sebastian Pozzo, duking it out. Let's find out how it goes this round. Let's head down for round number 15 here from Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. And welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and we're ready for round 15 action, where we've been keeping a close eye on the Constructed Master as we've got Sebastian Pozzo. He's from Argentina, and he is currently clinging to a 2-point lead on Constructed Master here. He's got 87 points coming in, and his opponent on the other side of the table is Dimitriy Butakov. Take a look at Dimitriy here. You've seen him before. He played in the Magic Online Championship. In fact, he won it. And right now, Sebastian Pozzo, again, is the one who's in lead. He is 2 points clear of Li Shitian, who's also in the feature match area playing against Ari Lax. And we're going to be keeping a close eye on this because that Constructed Master slot is very much up for grabs. Ooh, that was quick.
So this actually kind of represents the fact that Mono Red wants to play against Blue Red control. That is one of the matchups that you play Mono Red for. So I like actually starting the advantage bar is slightly in Sebastian's favor here. It's kind of like when John Finkel sits down. The advantage bar just kind of starts in his favor here.
Dimitriy willing to take an extra damage there to have a better choice on what to use Magma Spray on, though he does end up using it on the Bomat Courier. He's going to play an Ether Hub for his third land. But Zev still sitting there. She's ready to summon the monkey and get in. What does Sebastian have? Another Courier.
And Dimitriy has kind of the perfect hand for fighting Mono Red. So no Sweltering Suns. He's got one copy of that card, but he does have Magma Spray into Harness Lightning, and starting with those two do a pretty good job of stabilizing the board.
Soulscar Mage there for Pozzo is the follow-up play. Trying to keep himself clear of Li Shitian, who is close on his heels for Constructed Master. Of course, that would earn them, whoever wins it, a slot at the World Championship, which is a big deal.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, the last couple rounds of the last Pro Tour of the year are very high stakes. Sebastian Pozzo playing here for Constructed Master, playing for Platinum, for potentially an outside shot at top 8. His country's captaincy in the World Magic Cup, so he's got a lot on the line. He's entrusting it all to Bomat Courier.
Indeed.
Fragile vessel that it is.
Carry me home. He's got a pair of on-crop crashers in his hand, yet has been unable to hit his third land. So instead, he's just going to get a prowess trigger here and fire off Incendiary Flow right at Dimitriy Butakov's face, and then jam for 3.
And really what this game is going to hinge on is what this Glimmer of Genius finds Dimitriy Butakov here, because he needs to look for red cards. His blue cards don't help him a whole lot right now. They're counter spells, they're card draw. As great as those things sound, they don't stop Bomat Couriers and Soulscar Mages from attacking you.
Looks like you found a couple of lands there, Luis. Down to 11. And yeah, more blue cards off the top. He finds a Censor. Though he may be able to get a little value out of that here.
It is fairly likely he could counter a spell with Censor.
Especially if Pozzo finds a land here. No, he found another copy of Incendiary Flow.
He might be tempted just to run that out again.
Yeah, it worked last time, though it probably won't this time. Still, he would be getting in for 3 damage and knocking Dimitriy Butakov down to 8. And there we go. Sensor's going to hit that second copy of Incendiary Flow. Still, the way is clear.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Dimitriy, that doesn't stop the prowess triggers. That Soul Scar Mage still marching in for 2 points of damage. And here we're going to see a little bit of the flexibility of Supreme Will.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Though he still does need to find very specific cards. And, oh, right at the end he finds an Abrade. Though it was a land and a pair of Sensors before that. See Guillaume off Otapa in the background. Looks like they may be getting deck checked back there, as they weren't really doing a whole lot.
Ooh, I hope we get to watch them play some more. Like I said, it's a real treat watching Guillaume pilot control decks. I was very, very glad to see him back here. And one of the difficult things for the blue-red deck, it might not actually come into play here, and that's that the card itself, Ramanop Ruins, that this deck is named after, could easily force through 4 to 6 points of damage uncounterably. And the blue-red deck, you know, besides having Disallow, is unable to really stop that. But Sebastian is just so short on lands, doesn't have any deserts to be seen, or, you know, even 5 lands that you need to sacrifice the ruins. So he's not at a point where he's going to be able to use those quite yet.
Courier, trigger.
And so here, Sebastian's respecting Wandering Fumarole. He doesn't want to just attack his other cards into that.
Yeah, the possibility of a Torrential Gearhulk always looming as well. And is Pozzo ready to just cash in this Courier?
Looks like it.
Go for it. So he's going to send away that hand. Basically looking for lands. You know, he had a couple of uncastable on-crop crashers in his hand there. And he finds his Sunscorched Desert. This is one of the ways that Sebastian can use his lands and his mana to help get Dimitriy dead. There's that Abrade.
Yeah, and just like that, Dimitri's not in that bad of a shape. He does have to worry about Ramanop Ruins, so he needs to find a Torrential Gearhulk. Those are his main win conditions. And start clocking Sebastian, or he eventually will lose to a flurry of deserts. And in fact, Sebastian just drew Ramanop Ruins itself. So
yeah, that's 4 damage.
The clock begins.
Mm-hmm. Still, Pozzo is going to need to find a way to get in another hit or two with a creature or a burn spell. As 7 is a lot of Ramanop Ruins activations and not realistic. But getting 2 of them going, he can do that. Pozzo's just going to play a card. He does have Earthshaker Kenra in his hand as well as an on-crop crasher. He's going to play the Kenra. But Wandering Fumarole safely in land mode here. Can't be targeted by that. And is Pozzo just going to pass? Yeah, he does. Wow, those Wandering Fumaroles are doing really good work here for Butakov right now.
They are, but the penalty of having to keep all his mana up and not be able to spend it on other things. At some point, Sebastian can force Butakov to tap out for Fumarole, and that makes it so he's unable to cast like Glimmer of Genius, for example. Though he's getting to the point where he can actually do both.
Yeah, he has hit every land drop. And there it is, on-crop crasher. But again, Pozzo has to commit first. Well, it looks like it's going to get disallowed anyway. Soulscar Mage. Does he have an attack here? Let's see.
So if he attacks here and Butakov blocks the Earthshaker Kenra, Sebastian gets a point of damage in off Beaumont Courier, but also gets to put a card under the Courier, so
yeah.
that builds towards next turn.
And if Butakov decides to block the Courier itself, then Sebastian can just cash it in for a card.
And he takes 2 points off the Earthshaker Kenra, falling to a pretty precarious 5 life.
And that's what he's doing. Risky business here from Butakov. And Pozzo gets a card out of the exchange as well. So this is starting to really look good for Sebastian Pozzo, who has that Ramanov Ruins. He has 2 deserts on the battlefield, and Butakov at 5. That means if he can get in for 1 more point any other way, he could just use his lands to finish off Butakov. Butakov does not have any life gain.
And this is a matchup completely swung by the fact that Ramanov Ruins is a card.
Right. Mountain off the top for Pozzo. He also could just find another desert and over the course of the next 3 turns to start throwing deserts at Butakov.
And Butakov needs to find Torrential Gearhulk, which can flashback disallow. Disallow can counter the desert activation.
And then he comes. Was that a negate there from Butakov?
It stopped an incendiary flow,
Yeah.
but still, this damage will drop Butakov down to 3.
And that is enough for Sebastian Pozzo to set up not this turn, but next turn and the turn after. He doesn't have to do any other damage outside of Ramanov Ruins. And Butakov is going to be faced with the challenge of trying to get Pozzo from 20 to 0 in that time frame, or maybe find a disallow and hope that Pozzo sacrifices his Ramanov Ruins and won't have that option any further. But this has gotten very slim here for Butakov, who's drawn his 4th Ether Hub. Falconwrath Gorger off the top here for Pozzo. He really doesn't need to do a whole lot here.
No, and Butakov even has enough mana to activate both Wandering Fumaroles.
So he's just going to say go. He says, look, you can't interact much here. Disallows about the only thing he has, and Butakov doesn't have anything to interact at all, so that's Sebastian Pozzo winning game number 1. They don't call it Ramanov Red for nothing. That card has been really good at finishing off games, and it does so for Sebastian. That's going to do it for game 1 on our main match. We've got a lot more action for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
Looking for a place to hang out and play Magic? Head to your local game store this and every Friday to play Friday Night Magic events. Get more info at magic.wizards.com/FNM.
Always know the right play to make? Show off your skills at a local preliminary Pro Tour qualifier. With over 500 game stores worldwide running PPTQs, find an event near you at magic.wizards.com/PPTQ.
Welcome back to the feature match area here in Kyoto, Japan. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas. And we're in round number 15. We're playing standard here. Welcome. It's nice to have you along. We've got a little bit of side table action here. One of the best control players in the history of our game, Guillaume Afotapa from France, sitting on the right-hand side of your screen there. He's up against Shintaro Ishimura from Japan. And both of these players are ostensibly in contention for top 8 here, Luis. Guillaume is sitting on 10-3-1. He's picked up a draw at some point, and Shintaro is on 11-3.
So Shintaro's looking to win this and potentially draw the next round. Guillaume just needs to win 2 in a row. It's not looking good for Guillaume. The fact that Hour of Promise is resolving shows Guillaume with a hand of all Gear Hulks with no counter spells in his graveyard. And even though Guillaume's deck is very well built to play against slow control decks, and this ramp deck fairly slow, Ulamog will eventually come calling, and that Our Promise picking up 2 Shrine of the Forsaken Gods means that Guillaume's actually going to be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, so he really needs to find a counter here.
I would expect things to get better post-sideboard, but in Game 1, if you don't counter Hour of Devastation, eventually the ramp deck will get to 10 mana, and it's got access to 2 copies of Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, which Ulamog takes a bite at a crime here. It's going to be hard for Guillaume to defeat Ulamog coming down.
So he's just going to have to pass the turn back with Glimmer of Genius mana available plus an extra 3. And we'll see if Ulamog shows up here for Shintaro.
There's one waiting in the wings, I suspect.
And that is the Sanctum of Ugin as well.
Oh, yes.
So there's 2, and Guillaume is going to have to deal with both of them. This is going to be a very tall order for him. He's going to be losing permanence as it goes, too. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that's plenty of mana there. And he's going to go ahead and trigger. So, got a target here. Let's see what Shintaro wants to hit.
There are basically 2 options. It's Torrential Gearhulk and a land or 2 lands. And Shintaro's taking the slightly safer route. He could be aggressive and just take out all of Walfo Toppa's lands, just go after his mana sources. But then if Ulamog gets countered, then maybe the Torrential Gearhulk ends up killing Shintaro. The way he's running it, he takes out the Gearhulk and is playing it a little bit safer.
So they're deciding which way the triggers are going to happen here, and it looks like Shintaro wants the Ulamog trigger to resolve first rather than the Sanctum.
And that is the better way to stack it, because he wants to see if Ulamog's trigger resolves before deciding what to Sanctum for.
Bottom, he didn't find a hard counter in there, and he didn't find one here either. Censor's not going to be good enough.
Would you call it a soft counter?
Very soft in this scenario. In fact, not enough here. He would have needed to find an Essence Scatter.
And I don't think Wafo can beat or deal with a resolved Ulamog.
How about 2 of them?
No, the second one not going to be any easier than the first.
See, Shintaro has a few pretty dead cards in his hand, but he's got the livest of cards here with the Ulamog, and that's going to do it.
Yeah.
Guillaume Wafo-Tapa says, I cannot beat that card. I do not have the tools. I have to prevent you from resolving it. And, you know, normally his deck would be quite good at doing so, but it got really clogged up with Torrential Gearhulks there.
And normally, Guillaume has 4 disallows and 2 Essence Scatters, but he wasn't able to find any of them, despite having a decent amount of time. So he's going to need to go back to sideboarding, try to up the number of answers he has, and hopefully manage to stop Ulamog from resolving in any post-board games.
All right, well, let's get back to business here on our main match. Sebastian Pozzo. He is up a game over Dimitriy Butakov, and there's more good news for Sebastian. His closest competitor for Constructed Master is Li Shitian, and Li is down a game to Ari Lax. Both players at 10-4 in our feature match area as well, so things starting to look up here for Sebastian. If he can win this and have Li Shitian lose, well, he'll be in good shape. He'll be a full over a match clear and untouchable.
Thing in the Ice adds a new dimension to the blue-red deck. It actually gives it a pretty good shot. If you can play a turn 2 Thing in the Ice and have it flip into Awoken Horror, which, notice Dimitriy didn't block Bomat Courier, playing around Incendiary Flow, and was a good call since Sebastian actually has one.
Well, Dimitry's had enough.
This time he is going to block and
Get punished for it. I mean, the truth is that I don't think he can afford to sit there and just not block for the whole game.
no, that's kind of you're losing some of what makes Thing in the Ice so good. Is that normally it does block, effectively in the first couple turns.
Right. In this case, though, it is going to stay firmly locked in the ice as Dimitriy Butakov passes the turn back. Now, you got to feel like Sebastian's done some good things this game, getting rid of Thing in the Ice, and he's already got this Bomat Courier with 3 counters on it, perhaps even 4 upcoming. But Dimitry's at 18. I mean, this isn't exactly a blazing start from Pozzo here. Oh, here you go. How about an on-crop crasher? Well, how about no? Disallow says go away. But once again, here it comes.
And the strength of the Beaumont Courier is really being shown here. This is why Sebastian has a big advantage. His hand of Mountain and Hazaret could easily be replaced by a full 4 cards. And if Sebastian gets to untap here, play land, play Hazaret, he's got Beaumont Courier with 5 cards under it.
Wow.
And
there's Hazaret.
If Hazaret resolves, that's almost just game right there.
Right, now Hazaret doesn't resolve, but this is still looking like it's approaching game. 5 cards now from the Courier?
Yeah, there's no way Sebastian's tapping out with a Courier that's got 5 precious cards under it.
Right. Precious cargo indeed. When does Sebastian do this? He can't really play anything else this turn if he does, so he just decides to wait.
Since he drew another cheap spell, another Beaumont Courier, he could just wait. And with 5 mana, there's not much he can draw that gets completely blanked. So, plus he gets an extra card if he gets to successfully attack. So now he can play his 2 1-drops, then attack with Beaumont Courier. This is all turning up very well for the Argentinian.
Yeah, get that value.
The red deck's outdrawing the blue deck.
It really is. Yeah, the red deck's ability to deploy cards from hand really showing up here. There's another Beaumont Courier. And there's a Soulscar Mage, and Sebastian says, how do you feel about all of this?
I think Sebastian's going to win the award for the biggest Beaumont Courier here.
Going up to 6 now?
Yeah, I haven't seen a 6 so far this
No,
weekend.
I haven't either. Okay, well, we're going to see that Wandering Fumarole activated, but Sebastian says, sure.
At this point, you do want to block the one with 1 card under it because that one ends up not being something Sebastian wants to sacrifice quite yet. See, he can sacrifice both here if you'd like. You can also just let the one with 1 card die just to get an extra point of damage in.
Well, he's going to go for it. He finds a Chandra under there, which he won't be able to cast here, but once again, he gets to just have a Beaumont Courier, and maybe even he'll get it up to 7?
At this point, I think that he wants to just sacrifice it to start deploying threats.
Like he might find a 1-drop that he can play this turn.
And he hasn't played a land this turn.
Okay. Dimitriy Butakov at 15.
And you're drawing this many cards, getting to play a land's actually pretty good. I would have been tempted to just sacrifice both Beaumont Couriers in response to each other to end up with the full 7 cards in your hand. You just stack them both.
And then you go discard my hand when you're paying, and then you just get to draw all the cards.
That would be the plan.
Ooh, I like that idea. Pozzo's going to pass back again. Are we going to really see 7 now, or is he going to do this for mana efficiency reasons a little later? Or a little earlier, I should say.
Well, if he didn't sacrifice it on his turn, I suspect he's just going to untap here. He's going to play his Chandra. He's just running up the score at this
He
point.
kind of is.
He does have to worry about disallow. That is one.
know.
That is one thing that.
Well, now he doesn't.
So what Dimitri's doing here is during Sebastian's draw step, he's casting Supreme Will, looking for Magma Spray, so he can Magma Spray Beaumont Courier and force Sebastian to discard 2 cards in order to get his full grip of 6 here. But he did not find one.
An emphatic passing of priority there from Dimitriy Butakov. And there's that Chandra, and the problems are really starting to pile up now for Butakov. As he's just going to shoot down. And there's number 7, Luis.
All right, we're finally going for it.
We did it. How about the full amount? Right back to where we started. 7 cards drawn off of Bomac Courier.
I keep jamming this advantage bar, but it doesn't go up any higher.
Like you said, he's really rumming up the score here. Let's see if he can deploy a couple of threats in a row. He is going to have to really decide how much to commit to the board here, right?
There's not really a way for this to go wrong, though, for Sebastian. Even if Butakov has like Sweltering Suns to kill, both of his Soul Scar mages, Sebastian has 6 cards in hand. He has a Falcon Wrath Gorger. He's got Karizev's Skyship Raider. He can just refill. He's also got 2 Ramanop Ruins and Sunscorched Desert in his hand. So it's going to be really hard for Dimitriy to find a way to win this game, given that he's losing in life totals, losing on the board, losing cards in hand, and losing the long game because of Ramanop Ruins.
His graveyard just went away, too.
Yeah, Scavenger Grounds
Jeez.
kind of blunts the effect of any Torrential Gearhulk as well.
Still 6 cards in hand here for Sebastian.
He's even looking for more cards with Chandra. So Torrential Gearhulk is one of the kind of cards that can help turn this game around, but I don't think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, he's gotten to the point where he can deploy some of his most potent threats and just cards in general like this Torrential Gearhulk, but it's so far late.
So Supreme Will finds Sweltering Suns, Torrential Gearhulk then gets to kill Chandra. Sweltering Suns kills the 3 creatures in play.
He's going to have to settle for an Abrade here, it looks like. No, there's also another Torrential Gearhulk.
Though with that Scavenger Grounds in play, which connects out all graveyards, that is a little less appealing.
Right.
But even then, Sebastian still has another Gorger and a Soul Scar Mage in hand, plus he's just got desert after desert after desert, and that just equals a lot of damage.
Pozzo's just going to go ahead and chump block here with Soul Scar Mage before passing the turn back.
Yeah, and an active Chandra is still a problem.
Yeah, Pozzo's really is just hitting from all angles now. Feels like he just needs to navigate these last few turns here to try to seal the deal against Butakov.
Karizhev probably not going to get to attack this turn, but Soul Scar Mage getting in for 1, Sunscorched Desert getting in for 1, Ramanop Ruins 2 more, Chandra maybe next turn 2 more. Like, it all just adds up. It's all chip damage. This red deck doesn't deal big chunks of damage, but it is slowly, or not so slowly, whittling away Dimitri's life total.
Right. And most of the games that you'll see end up coming down to Ramanop Ruins finishing things off, and this one looks no different. I mean, Butakov's been doing things, but that one Bomac Courier just had such a profound effect on this game, drawing 7 cards for Pozzo and just giving him all the tools he needs to chip away at that life total from 12, which is what Butakov was at when he activated that, all the way down to 0 in a few turns here.
You see the total number of resources that Sebastian has far outpaces what Dimitriy has, and Dimitriy is the control deck.
Right.
That's just not a good look for a control. Like if you're losing on that axis, that's the one axis you're supposed to be winning on.
And here we go. Deserts start flying through the air. Ramanov Ruins drops Dimitriy Butakov down to 6. This could put him down to 4.
And at this point, there's almost no card you want to cast off Chandra. Just dealing the 2 damage guaranteed is much safer.
Definitely. And that's what Pozzo decides as well. So 4 for Dimitriy Butakov. This is also assuming that he has something to do. Wow, make it 3. Sunscorched Desert, and that does it. Dimitriy Butakov extends the hand. Sebastian Pozzo perhaps moving himself into position to be the constructed master. He defended his turf here, which means he will retain his lead, his narrow lead over Li Shitian, though it is now up to Li Shitian to try to fight back and force a decider next round.
And Li Shitian currently down a game against Arilax, so...
Yeah, this one, if Li Shitian loses, then Sebastian Pozzo is your constructed master for this year. Let's check back in on Guillaume Wafotapa and Shintaro Ishimura. I know you love watching Guillaume play, Luis, so
Oh, yeah.
we'll give you a little more. Uh-oh.
There's a World Breaker in play. I don't like that.
And a Chandra.
I just want a game 3, you see.
See a World Breaker in the graveyard here for Shintaro as well.
Well, Guillaume has access to a lot of cards right now, so...
Now let's see if he's got a counterspell.
He does. The question is, does he use Torrential Gearhulk into the counterspell, or does he just cast Disallow?
And he's deciding that right now. Hour of Promise on the stack for Shintaro Ishimura. He's got 3 cards left in hand. Guillaume just double checking that. And he is going to go ahead and use the Torrential Gearhulk to take care of the Hour of Promise, but he still has problems.
Funnily enough, Wafotapa has sided in Into the Slaughter, which he can only cast off Ether Hug. But if he finds it, it will be very effective right here.
He can just cast to the Slaughter and just get rid of this Planeswalker and creature.
Looks like he might be short on Delirium quite yet, but it still offers him, I think, a pretty good option here. Because unfortunately, the World Breaker is big enough that Torrential Gearhulk just bounces off it for now. So Wafotapa is going to have to kind of sit there in the face of Chandra. She can actually ramp. Looks like Ishimura's 1 mana away from hard casting Ulamog.
And he has a land drop to give here too.
Given the Chandra, but doesn't appear to have a land.
I think he drew an Ulvenwald Hydra though. That gets you a land.
Assuming it resolves.
Yeah, which would be not a safe assumption from Shintaro's perspective at this point.
Shintaro really hoping to hit a ramp spell or something along those lines with Chandra. The 2 points of damage really doesn't help that much. And so Wafotapa is going to be able to counter this Ulvenwald Hydra. Sadly not with Censor. He's going to have to actually use Disallow if he wants to counter it. But then gets to cast Glimmer of Genius as well and see a bunch of new cards. Ooh, and given his energy count, Harness Lightning can kill a World Breaker. It's unfortunate for Wafotapa that World Breaker does eventually come back, but at least that does put a tax on Shintaro's resources.
So 9 energy. And he does take the Harness Lightning, puts one of them on the bottom, though, so he drew a land along with it, and there's Disallow. No Ulvenwald Hydra for you. Got a match update, by the way. Sam Pardee, 12-2. He just beat Kazukai Fujimura. And he's looking really good for top 8 now.
Oh, yeah. He's locked at this point, 13-2. So that Harness Lightning will allow Wafutapa to wipe Shintaro's board here. And at this point, with another Glimmer in hand, Wafutapa is looking pretty good. He still has to find things. He doesn't have the game locked down, but he's going to be able to ride this Gearhulk to victory if he has enough time, though. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, a fantastic draw for Ishimura. He's 1 mana away from Ulamog, and Wafutapa has to be aware of that.
Right. So Wafutapa is going to be looking for Counterspell. What is that?
Oh, yes.
Nicol Bolas, as Balchion called him, Godfather?
Not the printed name, but I think that one does play.
Yeah, Nicol Bolas Godpharaoh there. That is a spicy little splash there for Guillaume Wafutapa.
He's got some Ether Hubs doing all overtime here. He's got the Nicol Bolas and To the Slaughter, both of which can only be cast with black mana, which he's got Ether Hub as his potential black source.
Right. How many cards in hand for Ishimura? 2?
2. Ulamog and Harness Lightning.
So he can just slam.
He needs to find Ether Hub, which he was unable to do. He can cycle Censor to look for it.
And then he could nab both cards out of Shintaro's hand. That would surely win him the game. He's not going for it, though.
Part of the reason not to cycle Censor, though, is Censor can actually counter Ulamog.
It certainly can. And it looks like Shintaro's going to take a different line here. He's not going to try to build up for Ulamog. Instead, he's going to go for Recursion on Worldbreaker.
And one of the convenient things about Worldbreaker is it does take out this Torrential Gearhulk.
As an artifact. Let's see here. 7 mana. Kill that. Man, that Shrine was nice. That allows him to play around Censor here as well.
Yeah, and at this point, Guillaume has to be considering whether he wants to cycle Censor or not. Because otherwise, he just has no plays this turn. And if he can find another Glimmer, another Gearhulk, another pull from tomorrow, he can go from being, somewhat even to really crushing this game. So it's going to really depend on what he finds here. Unfortunately for Guillaume, Island is not going to do it.
Looks like these players have just received a time extension, and the reason for that is they were deck checked. The judges will occasionally pick matches at random, sometimes even in the feature match area, and they'll go through and make sure that everything's on the up and up with the deck list and the cards inside.
And Guillaume drew another negate, and Ishimura drew another land. So we went from a game where Guillaume was fairly ahead to a game where Ulamog is about to be put on the stack if Ishimura wants to run it out.
Wow, 2 black cards in hand for Guillaume, and they'd both be excellent at different points during the course of this game, and he has yet to be able to cast them. Oh, that is going to make life difficult. Because here comes Ulamog. And stuck without a counter. Let's get exiled.
Glimmer, turn too late. Because Guillaume, even if he finds black mana at this point, Worldbreaker protects Ulamog from To the Slaughter. And Ulamog is a 10-10. That's enough to deal lethal damage. Exiling 20 cards is not necessary.
I'm taking a look through his graveyard. Things are looking very dire for Wafutapa. He could not take a loss here and still have chance of top 8 at 10-4-1, right? He'd be out.
This is certainly an elimination match for Wafutapa, and likely one for Shintaro, though.
Not impossible. There's the Ether Hub. But like you said, he's got
He needs
fodder. Somehow the World Breaker is the fodder for...
All right, so off top it needs to put Ether Hub on top, draw Ether Hub, and the next card down has to be Harness Lightning.
Oh, but it was a mountain instead. And that's going to do it. Shintaro Ishimura dispatches the Hall of Famer Guillaume Afotapa. A great run for Guillaume, and it's going to be a solid finish for him regardless. But that is going to put Shintaro Ishimura in a potential spot to knock at the door for top 8, certainly with the win next turn. Excuse me, next round. Maybe even with a draw. That means we have one more match to go, and I can tell you we've been keeping a close eye on this for the Constructed Master because we had the leader for Constructed Master. And again, Constructed Master is a slot at the World Championship. That's Sebastian Pozzo for Argentina. He won his round, this round, on our main feature match against Dimitriy Butakov. And what he's really hoping for is that Li Shitian loses this game to Ari Lax. That would put Sebastian Pozzo firmly in the lead, and he would be our Constructed Master this year and find himself playing against the game's best later this year. Now, if Li Shitian can win this game, though, he will keep it close and says, look, next round, if Sebastian loses and Li wins, then he could steal it from him. Although things looking pretty good for Ari Lax here. He just played, yes, a Verdurous Gearhulk. What can Li do?
Well, he needs to find another copy of Never to Return, which he does not currently have access to. Though Diregraph Colossus puts a lot of stats on the board, so if Ari has a removal spell or two, this Gearhulk will take it home for him. Oh, wow, the combination of Walking Ballista and Grasp of Darkness could be exactly what Ari needs.
He's going to just attack for 8, and Li says, yep, taking it, and this is going to be a Walking Ballista for 3 for Ari Lax. Ari with a solid record deep into day 2 here, sitting at 10-4. And he's going to take out the Crypt Breaker immediately. That'll surely prompt Li Shitian to use it. He's going to fall down to 7 and then lose his Crypt Breaker. Now Ari could use the Walking Ballista to finish off the Diregraph Colossus and perhaps prevent a few more zombies from hitting the battlefield as well.
And one reason not to do that is the zombies do enter the battlefield tapped.
Right.
And if Ari thinks the game is just going to be over next turn, he doesn't need to do that. On the other hand, if he doesn't kill the Diregraph Colossus and Li Shitian finds Never to Return, a second copy, kills the Gearhulk, then the Diregraph Colossus becomes much more of a problem.
Let's see what Li finds off the top of his library here.
Well, he does not have Never to Return. He has more 3-drop zombies.
Looks like he's got a Dark Salvation. I don't think he's going to be able to get that thing up to 8, though.
No, not this turn.
Now, he might be able to assemble a blocking force, though. He does have another Diregraph Colossus. Oh, he's also got Lord of the Accursed, it looks like.
And now Ari might feel priced into killing the Diregraph Colossus before Lord of the Accursed enters the battlefield, but sadly for him, that gave Li Shitian a free zombie.
Free zombie, yeah, that's a cast trigger on Diregraph. But, of course, Lord of the Accursed pumping up the rest of the zombies, including the Diregraph Colossus, means the window has closed for Lax to use that on it. And he's going to just go ahead, Li Shitian's just going to go ahead and use Dark Salvation to take out the Walking Ballista, but it leaves the big threat, the Verdurous Gearhulk, up.
And now the natural block here for Li Shitian would be to put a bunch of zombies on this Gearhulk and hope that the Lord of the Accursed is enough to make it so he has a 3-3 Diregraph Colossus, a 3-3 zombie, and a 3-3 Relentless Dead. Ari has Grasp of Darkness.
Yeah, that's the scariest black left up there from Ari Lax you could possibly have.
It can kill Lord of the Accursed mid-combat. The Gearhulk can just mow down all of Li Shitian's zombies. That plus the Quagmire drop Li Shitian to 2, and he's forced to top deck. So Li Shitian, I think, might be priced into blocking as if Lord of the Accursed is going to survive.
Really? He might just have to ignore the possibility of a removal spell here?
So let's say Ari had the Grasp of Darkness face up. Let's say he had just dropped it on the table.
Right.
Li Shitian, looking at that, still has to put a zombie in front of Quagmire and chump the Gearhulk and with at least 2 things and fall down to 2. So
How does Li Shitian win that even if he finds a removal spell? Is that the argument?
Right. It's going to be hard for Li Shitian to win this game no matter what in the face of Grasp of Darkness. I think him playing as if Ari doesn't have Grasp is going to end up being more profitable.
Oh, should you have taken damage?
You play this? Targeting the
Ballista. And I shot him. It was for 0, x equals 0.
We get
Li Shitian had cast that Dark Salvation for 0, which I think is what they were chatting about. Let's just... you can see Lee really feeling it now.
Yeah, his constructed master hopes and dreams are fading, and they're going to fall outside of his grasp. Let's just put it that way.
Indeed. Verdurous Gearhulk, still an 8/8 with trample for 5 mana. You know, with such a large standard format, there's so many different cards and strategies that you can use, but that's still one of the powerful ones out there. And he does go ahead and triple block here. He's going to let the Hissing Quagmire through. There goes the Lord of the Accursed. That means that Li Shitian is going to lose the rest of his zombies outside of that tapped one. And he's going to go to 2.
He gets the Relentless Dead back, or he can put a Crypt Breaker back into play, one of the two.
Well, he is going to be at 2 with a zombie, and if he can rip a removal spell, he could still have a blocker for the Hissing Quagmire and kill the Verdurous Gearhulk.
Li Shitian has exactly 1 Never to Return left in his deck.
Boy, would he love to see that. That one lives. Those die. And there's another Hissing Quagmire for Lack, so he can keep chipping in. But this has to be Never to Return for him to even survive. And it's a swamp off the top. That's not going to do it for Li Shitian. He's going to play Diregraph Colossus. It's big. Okay, now he also plays Relentless Dead.
So Ari needs an untapped land in order to finish this game.
How about another Verdurous Gearhulk?
That
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's like, I can get 4 more counters, and that does it. Ari Lax defeats Li Shitian, and you can see the relief on Ari's face. A big moment for him as he stays at X and 4 here. And you also could hear maybe in the background a big cheer. That was actually Sebastian Pozzo fans seeing that Li Shitian had lost. And, you know, good sports and all. They're not happy about Li Shitian losing. They're happy that that means that Sebastian Pozzo is your constructed master for this season, and he's going to be playing in the World Championship.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah, from Argentina. So congratulations to Sebastian. A great achievement for him. And really one of the ways that you can kickstart a big Magic career in this way is to get in on that ground floor at the World Championship, run it up, get some points, make a name for yourself, and then have a great season. And he is one step closer to doing just that. Fantastic stuff from Sebastian. That means we got Martin Yuza as our draft master, and now we have our constructed master as well. So that is going to do it, though, for round 15 action. We've still got another round to go, and of course, this is where things get super intense as we work our way up towards the top 8 with so much on the line at the end of the season. We're going to be back with more of that and the news desk, but first, these messages.
Well, from starting out at his first Pro Tour, finishing in 401st place, to clinching his third Pro Tour top 8, our very own Brian David Marshall is down on the floor with Sam Black. All right, we're having a bit of small technical issues, so let's talk about some of the people that we know are in the top 8. Sam Black, as I just mentioned, is in at 13-2. Sam Pardee also safely in at 13-2. Paulo Vito Damo de Rosa in at 13-2 as well. All right, while we wait for that interview out on the floor, we're going to take a moment to do a deck tech right now.